My door didn't knock, because what arrived wasn't the kind of being that uses doors. The most ruthless, most feared warrior in the galaxy stepped into my room without triggering a single alarm, and instead of killing me, she made a request that would change my life forever. The night cycle alarms had just finished humming their soft, artificial lullaby when the air in my room folded inward like someone pressing invisible fingers into reality. 1 second I was deciding whether my last packet of instant noodles was emotionally or nutritionally necessary, and the next second gravity hiccuped, my desk lamp flickered, and something stepped out of a ripple that definitely was not approved by station safety regulations. I froze, noodle packet in hand, staring at the tall figure now standing 3 steps inside my room like she had always lived there, and I was the one trespassing. She looked like a human woman at first glance, the kind you might pass in a corridor and forget a minute later. But then she turned slightly, and the long, elegant ears curved back along her hairline, moving subtly like they were tasting the air. Her eyes scanned the room once, fast, precise, calculating exits, cover angles, distance to improvised weapons, which, for the record, included my chair, my tablet, and possibly my emotional support mug. "I knocked," she said calmly. "You knocked through space." I asked. "Yes." I stared at the ripple behind her as it sealed itself like cooling glass. "That feels illegal." "It is," she said, stepping further in and looking around with a neutral, battlefield-level assessment. "Your living quarters are smaller than expected for a dominant species." "We are not dominant," I said automatically. "We just got lucky and invented streaming services early." She tilted her head slightly, ears twitching. "Streaming services. Never mind." Silence stretched between us, thick and heavy, except for the faint hum of the station life support and my heart trying to exit my chest through interpretive dance. Up close, she was terrifying in a quiet way. Not aggressive, not tense. Just controlled, like someone who had already planned 12 ways to win any possible fight in this room and was now mildly bored by the outcome. She looked down at the noodle packet in my hand. "Is that emergency rations?" "It's dinner," I said. She nodded once, like that confirmed a strategic weakness about my species. Then, after a pause that felt like a weapon being slowly lowered, she said, "May I sit?" "On purpose?" I asked. "Yes." I gestured to the chair. She approached it carefully, like it might explode, then lowered herself onto it. The chair made a deeply offended squeak. She froze, eyes narrowing. "It does that," I said quickly. "It's not an attack." She slowly shifted her weight. The chair survived, barely. Her gaze moved across my room again, slower this time. Books. Data pads. A pile of clothes I had emotionally decided were clean enough. A half-finished model of a cargo shuttle I had built during a very questionable life choice phase. "You live alone," she said. "Yes. By choice. Technically." Another silence, less dangerous, more awkward. "I am told humans prefer to initiate social exchanges with low-threat conversation," she said. "That is true," I said. "Usually about weather or food or complaining about both." She considered this. "The station weather is artificial and your food appears structurally unstable. That is extremely accurate." Something almost like satisfaction flickered across her face, like she had completed a training simulation correctly. Then she said very directly, "I need help." I waited for the rest. When none came, I said, "With conquering something, hiding a weapon, disposing of a body. I need to know if I should put shoes on." "None of those," she said. "Oh, good. I mean, still concerning, but good." She leaned forward slightly, hands resting on her knees, posture still perfectly balanced like she could launch into motion in less than a heartbeat. But her voice lowered, not in threat but in something closer to uncertainty. "In my culture," she said, "strength is survival. Emotional dependency is considered structural failure." "That sounds exhausting," I said. "It is efficient." "Still exhausting." Her ears shifted again, slower this time, thoughtful. "I have maintained my designation as primary war executor across 7-star sectors," she said. My projected lethality rating is 98.6%. Congratulations, I said weakly. And yet, she said, I am here because there is something I cannot solve through violence, intimidation, or strategic orbital bombardment. I nodded slowly. That does eliminate most of my usual advice. She inhaled slowly, like preparing to jump across a canyon. I need assistance understanding personal emotional bonding protocols, she said. I blinked. You crossed illegal space dimensions for relationship advice. Yes. I sat down on my bed very carefully. I am both honored and deeply unqualified. You were statistically optimal, she said. That is the worst compliment I have ever received. She ignored that. You do not fear me at baseline levels. I absolutely do, I said. I am just very committed to pretending I don't. She studied my face, then gave a small, almost invisible nod. Acceptable. Outside the station window, a cargo ship drifted past, engines glowing soft blue. Somewhere far below, docking clamps thudded into place. Inside my room, the most feared warrior in multiple star systems sat in my squeaky chair and said, if I attempt to initiate emotional vulnerability incorrectly, it could destabilize multiple political alliances. No pressure, I said. She looked at my bed. Why do you store additional fabric layers there? Blankets, I said. Comfort, warmth, emotional stability. She stood, walked over, and touched one carefully. This is inefficient, she said. Yes, I said, but nice. She considered that like it was advanced theoretical physics. Then she sat back down, straighter this time. I have observed that humans often begin trust exchanges with a shared food, she said. I held up the noodle packet. You want half? She hesitated. Yes, she said. I handed it over. She studied the preparation instructions like they were ancient battle scriptures. 3 minutes in boiling water, she said. Or 2 if you're impatient and enjoy consequences. She nodded solemnly, like that was valuable tactical knowledge. For the first time since she arrived, the room felt, not safe, but less like a place where history was about to explode. Still, as she sat there, long ears twitching slightly, galaxy-level danger contained in a person trying to understand why blankets and noodles made humans feel less alone, I had the overwhelming feeling that whatever came next was going to be bigger than both of us. And somehow, incredibly, I also had the feeling I was going to have to explain sarcasm to someone who could probably dismantle a fleet before breakfast. She held the cup of noodles like it was a small, unstable reactor core, watching the steam rise with the focused attention of someone who had survived orbital bombardments, but was not entirely sure about dehydrated food technology. I sat across from her, trying very hard to act like this was a normal Tuesday, and not the night a living legend of interstellar warfare was carefully blowing on noodles in my room. The thermal output is inconsistent, she said. That's because I forgot to stir it, I said. She nodded, then stirred it with extreme precision like she was disarming something. Then she took one careful bite. She froze. Is it bad? I asked. It is aggressively average, she said. That's basically our entire species motto. She took another bite anyway, slower this time. Outside, traffic beacons blinked across the station ring, painting slow-moving lines of light across the wall. For a few seconds, the only sound was her eating and my brain trying to calculate how I ended up hosting the galaxy's most statistically efficient nightmare. Then she said, I must explain the full situation. Please do, I said, preferably before someone tries to vaporize my apartment. They will, she said calmly. Eventually. Great. Love that timeline. She set the cup down carefully on my desk, aligning it perfectly with the edge. In my species, she said, pair bonding is not emotional, it is strategic. Genetic compatibility, political alliance value, military reinforcement potential. Romantic, I said. Yes, she said, not noticing the sarcasm. Extremely. I pressed my lips together. I have been assigned a union, she continued. Oh, I said, assigned, yes. And you don't want it. It would strengthen my command position, she said. but it would eliminate variables I have recently determined may be important. Such as... She was quiet for a moment. Her ears lowered slightly, then lifted again, like she had physically forced them back into discipline. Choice, she said, the word sat between us heavier than any weapon. Okay, I said softly. Yeah, that's a big one. She looked directly at me. You form attachments based on non-strategic factors. All the time. Usually very poorly. This is why I chose you. Again, worst compliment. She ignored that too. I have observed human bonding behavior through cultural data archives, she said. You experience emotional trust development through shared vulnerability. Yes, I said. Also shared memes, but vulnerability is a big one. I do not understand how to display vulnerability without appearing weak. That's because it kind of is weakness, I said, but like the brave kind. She frowned slightly, contradictory. Welcome to emotions. She leaned back in the chair, it squeaked again. She glared at it like it had personally insulted her ancestors. Your furniture lacks discipline, she said. It was on sale. She considered that, then nodded like she respected economic warfare. Then suddenly her head turned toward the door. Her ears snapped forward perfectly still. What? I said, instantly tense. Scanning, she said quietly. The air felt thicker, then thinner, then normal again. 3 surveillance drones just past the corridor intersection, she said. Civilian models, modified firmware. My stomach dropped. Looking for you? Yes. Can they detect you here? Not unless they know to look. That is not comforting. She stood and moved to the window, looking out across the massive curve of the station interior, city lights stretching for kilometers under artificial sky. They will escalate, she said. I did not request official leave. I removed myself from command. You went AWOL. Yes, I laughed once, sharp, nervous. You are the most dangerous runaway soldier in history. Yes. Another pause. You are handling this surprisingly well, she said. I am in shock, I said. Also, you haven't killed me, which is really raising morale. She turned slightly toward me. I would not. I am choosing to believe you. She studied me for a long moment. Humans engage in humor during stress responses, she said. Yes, constantly. It's either jokes or screaming. She nodded like that made sense. I am experiencing, she hesitated, searching for the word, anticipatory loss anxiety. About the assigned union, I asked. Yes, because you don't want it. Because if I accept it, she said slowly, I will confirm that I am exactly what they designed me to be. I swallowed. And you don't know if you are, I said. No, she said, I do not. Silence again, softer now, real. Then I said, okay, so what do you need from me? She faced me fully now. I need to learn how to choose something irrational, she said, and survive the consequences. That, I said, is extremely human. She nodded once. Then very quietly she said, also, I may need somewhere to stay temporarily. I stared at her, then at my bed, then at my extremely not impressive living space. You crossed illegal space to get here, I said. You can stay. She relaxed, just slightly. Most people wouldn't have noticed. Then she picked up the noodle cup again and finished it in 3 precise bites. It is still aggressively average, she said. Yeah, I said, but it's better when you're not eating it alone. She went still. Then she nodded once more, slower this time, like she was accepting something she didn't fully understand yet. Outside, somewhere deep in the station traffic lanes, unknown ships were already adjusting their patrol routes. And inside my very small, very unimpressive room, a being who could end wars was trying to figure out how to start living. By the time the station entered artificial dawn cycle, my room looked like the command center of the galaxy's most emotionally confused rebellion. 3 empty noodle cups sat on the desk in a line so perfectly aligned it was honestly intimidating. She stood near the window, watching cargo traffic drift past the transparent alloy like slow constellations learning how to move. They are closer, she said. I figured, I said, sitting cross-legged on the bed. You've been doing that quiet, intense staring thing for 2 hours. I am calculating exit routes. Please include one where my apartment doesn't explode. No guarantees. Fair. She turned from the window. Something about her posture had changed overnight. Still precise, still controlled, but not as rigid, like she had allowed herself to exist slightly off perfect balance. I have received official summons, she said. From your command, yes, and they know where I am. My stomach flipped. How long? 36 minutes. Specific, terrifying, efficient. She stepped closer. Close enough that I could see the faint silver patterning along the edge of her irises, something I had missed before because I was too busy not dying. I must decide, she said. Between going back and not, I said. Yes. Silence stretched, but it wasn't empty anymore. It felt like standing on the edge of something huge and quiet and permanent. You know, I said, for someone with a 98% lethality rating, you are very bad at sitting with emotions. I am learning, she said. Progress, I said. Next step, crying at movies. I have reviewed human films, she said. Most problems could be solved with orbital strikes. Emotionally, yes. Logistically, frowned upon. She actually made a small sound, not quite a laugh, but close enough that I felt weirdly proud. Then the station lights flickered once. Her head snapped toward the door. They are here, she said. My heart immediately tried to uninstall itself. What happens now? I asked. They will attempt retrieval, she said. If I resist, escalation protocols begin. And escalation means military intervention. Into a civilian trade station. Yes, fantastic, love that for us. She stepped closer again. You should leave. No, I said, surprising myself with how fast it came out. Her ears shifted slightly. You are not equipped for this conflict. I know, I said, but you didn't come here because you wanted another soldier. She went still. I am not strategic, I said. I am not powerful. I am not politically valuable, but I am here. And you chose to be here too. That has to mean something. Outside, distant sirens began to hum through the station structure. I was designed to eliminate uncertainty, she said quietly. And now, I asked. She looked directly at me. Now I am choosing it. Something warm and terrifying and enormous settled in my chest. A sharp knock hit the door. Not polite, not impatient, just final. She closed her eyes once, then opened them. I will not return, she said. Okay, I said, voice shaking anyway. Okay. The knock came again, harder. She walked to the door, stopped, looked back at me. I do not know what I will become, she said. Yeah, I said. Welcome to the club. The corner of her mouth lifted, small but real. Then she opened the door. 3 figures stood in the corridor, armored in dark adaptive combat plating, insignias glowing faint violet. Commander, the front one said. You are ordered to return. No, she said simply. Silence, heavy, dangerous. You are destabilizing multiple sectors, the soldier said. Then they should learn stability was always an illusion, she replied. I swallowed hard. That was extremely cool, also extremely terrifying. The soldiers shifted stance. Not attacking. Not yet. Final confirmation, the soldier said. She straightened. For the first time since I met her, she didn't look like a weapon waiting to be aimed. She looked like a person standing somewhere they had chosen to stand. I am not your weapon, she said. The corridor lights dimmed red. For a moment I thought everything was about to collapse into violence. Then the lead soldier lowered their weapon. Understood, they said. I blinked. Wait, what? We will report voluntary separation, the soldier said. Command will respond politically. She nodded once. Thank you. They turned and left just like that. I leaned against the wall, legs suddenly optional. That worked, I said. Partially, she said. Consequences will follow. Yeah, I said, but not orbital strike consequences. No, the corridor went quiet again. She closed the door, and then she just stood there, breathing, existing, not calculating, not preparing to destroy anything. You did it, I said. Yes, she said. Then softer, I did. She walked back into the room, slower now, like she wasn't rushing toward or away from anything anymore. What now? I asked. I learned, she said. I build a life that is not assigned. That is terrifying, I said. Yes. We have noodles, I added. That helps, she said. I smiled. Outside, ships moved. Trade routes shifted. Messages crossed light years. Entire governments would probably panic within the hour. But inside my tiny room, she sat in the squeaky chair again, and this time when it made noise, she ignored it. I do not feel weaker, she said after a while. No, I said. You look freer. She considered that like it was a new kind of weapon she might actually want to carry. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For showing me that survival is not the same as living. I looked around my messy, unimpressive, aggressively average life. Hey, I said, I'm still figuring that out.